Since Halloween is right around the corner, and some of you might want to add some extra spook to your costume, I thought it might be a good idea to show you some tips on how to draw Gore. The cool thing about this tutorial is it applies not only for 2D art, but for special effects makeup as well. When talking about cuts, you need to think about two things: the depth and age. How long ago did this cut happen, and how deep is it? Those will determine the colors you'll use. If a cut is new and deep, it'll have plenty of darker colors because it's further from the light. If it's brand new, there should still be some blood. If it's deep, but an old wound, the body would have started to heal, so you'll have a scab and blood that's dried up. And stitches are a good addition to indicate that it's been long enough for you to have gotten some first aid. If the cut is shallow and new, you'll have blood as well, but there will be significantly less because the wound is smaller. A shallow and old cut will heal faster. Either way, it should kind of follow the same pattern as a deep cut, but I like to indicate that it's become more of a scar. Of course, this would be for a really old cut that's completely sealed back up. The skin around the cut will be irritated, so it'll be pinker than usual. Not red, pinker. The deeper the cut goes, the darker and richer the reds will become. Don't be afraid to use blues and purples. They shouldn't be the main tone of the blood, but they help add realism. Now, when it comes to bruises, there are three main things that you're going to have to think about. And that's the very, very first initial bruise. Then there's the first couple of days afterwards, and then there's the healing process. And those are the three stages of a bruise. So I'm going to show you on my skin so that we can talk more about 3D art and special effects rather than just on paper drawing. So initial bruises are really pink and red, right? It's a lot like the irritated skin that we were talking about earlier when I was talking about cuts. Those are going to be the same kind of tones that you're going to use in this. And of course, bruises can be any shape, so just apply it in whatever shape you want. And I'm just taking, this is grease paint. I think I got it from like Walmart or something. And you just kind of dab it around, right? And then that's our initial tone. And afterwards we want some depth to it, so we're going to take some of this darker color. This is much less ready to be used. And we're just going to add some depth. This one's taking a little bit more because it's not as new, so it's taken its own sweet time. And then I like to go back over with the initial color, messing up the grease paints, whatever. Anyway, go back over with the initial color, kind of see. And that's kind of your initial bruise. The reds and the blood kind of all showing up on the surface, and this is going to be a newer, like 1 to 2 day old bruise. Okay, so now after a couple of days, this will start to like settle, and when it does that, it's going to become more black and blue, and the tones that we're more commonly associated with. I don't have blue grease paint, so I'm using some eyeshadow. That's usually what I use. I like to just take a darker blue and establish kind of the base, right? And then I go in with some of the black. And the goal is to make it so that the black, you only use a very, very, very little amount of black because it will become dark very quickly. Now, as I'm looking at this, oftentimes purple and green are good colors to add into some like this level of bruise because it gives it more visual interest, and you'll see more of that kind of stuff in bruises. So I'm going to come in with this really darker red to kind of establish some more purples because it'll mix with the blue. And then I'm also going to bring in this green. That's wild trying to, oh gosh. Now green only comes in just very, very faintly. It's not the main color by any means, but it can help add some texture. See that? And then I think, oh dear, a little bit more blue around these edges. And then just tap it out to fade it. See? Like that. So we have a brand new bruise and one that's kind of started to settle. It's a couple days old. Okay, now last but not least, you're going to have a bruise that's starting to heal. It's almost done. And that's going to focus on these greens and yellows because the blues kind of go away, leaving these colors. And then also, blood is always a thing when it comes to bruising. That's what causes it. And so red is a good addition to add some, interest and whatnot. So I'm going to take this green and start just adding it around. Now, this grease paint is going to cause me trouble. I can see that. But see how we're laying down this green foundation. If I could just get it. Okay, so we have some green. And then we're going to want this more yellow tone. Because that's going to come in and give some more depth. Right? So here we have kind of this bruise. It's starting to heal. But, we still need some kind of essence of the fact that it's a bruise. And so I like to go in with a little bit of red and then go back over it with those colors again. Because that way they'll kind of all mesh appropriately. And there's this bruise that's still definitely a bruise, but it's starting to heal. And then, so to go over it again, we have this redder, oh no, it's, just happened. Go into some blues and blacks, then you go into this green, yucky, and then eventually it'll heal and, it'll be over here, all good, all clean. So those are kind of the three, oh dear. These are the three kind of bruises that you'll see, and you just got to pick which one's right for the story element that you're using, because there's always a background to these kind of wounds, so, keep that in mind. Those are my basic tips for drawing cuts and bruises, and the cool thing about all this info, again, is that it goes for any type of art. 2D, you're going to follow these general rules. 3D art, it's the same information, but it'll actually be easier because the fact that it's 3D gives you the advantage of shadows that aren't there when doing flat art. Hope this helps you with any spooky artwork that you may be planning for this Halloween season. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys next week.